So, what is that button that a certain someone in your life can push and almost get an immediate reaction from you? We're all human, and sometimes there are people in our lives that are great at pushing our buttons, and sometimes they push our buttons on purpose because they're trying to get something from us. So, I want to share just a little tip about how to deactivate a guilt trip button, but this really applies in any area, and it comes from my book, Let Go of the Guilt. Stop beating yourself up and take back your joy. So, here's the thing. Guilt trips work because people have learned how to get you to react to a guilt trigger. And a lot of times it is maybe something that happened way in the past and they bring it up and automatically you feel that guilt and guilt says, I've done something wrong, therefore I have to pay. And sure enough, you pay in the form of whatever it is that they want. Sometimes it's not that you've done anything wrong at all. Sometimes it's false guilt. And so if someone knows that you just are prone to feel guilty about things you don't even need to feel guilty about, they can still use that as a guilt trip. So what can you do? Sometimes you simply have to deactivate the trigger. And all that means is that you don't do what you normally do when they push that button. So if they are used to you opening up your wallet and paying for something when they push that button, don't do that. If they are used to you uh, responding emotionally, yelling, or doing whatever it is, don't do that. Simply deactivate the button. And in fact, there are a lot of ways to do it. It might mean saying nothing. It might mean not reacting right away. It might mean that you say, I'm not going to be able to do that. I know I normally do, but that's not what I'm going to do. Sometimes, especially when you feel compelled to do the thing you always do, you might simply say, I'll think about it and let you know. And that gives you time to go away, take some breaths, get your composure, develop your response, and then respond. Here's the thing. When you can be triggered to do things you don't want to do, you have got to find a different way to respond. And the way to do that is to deactivate those buttons when they get pushed. And eventually, if you deactivate the button long enough, people get tired of pushing a button that no longer works. So who do you need to try that with? In what situation do you need to try that? Try it. Whether it's today, this week, sometime soon. Deactivate the button and notice how you get a different response when you respond differently. All of us have growth gaps, those areas where we need to grow, whether in our relationships or our finances or our career. I don't know what your growth gaps are, but if you have a personal growth plan, you can be very intentional about closing them. So if that's where you are, I want you to just check out my personal growth membership. It's called the Successful Women's Academy. And if you're somebody who knows, hey, you know what? Maybe I want to coach other people to close those gaps. Check out our Coach Training Intensive at the Coaching and Positive Psychology Institute, or the CAP Institute, as we love to call it. But until then, deactivate some buttons. What are the ones you need to deactivate? Start responding differently and notice how you get a different response.